Hey, brothers and sisters, what's up? This is the Reluctant Nabi back again. And I'm going to dedicate this to all the Biden supporters, all the Democratic supporters who are the so-called black community. You know, the ones that's been arguing with the Afro men who are Trump supporters. All right. I want to show you the audacity of the Democratic Party, of the Obama appointed people, that administration. And I want to show you a couple of things. I guess by now, when people were saying in the media that there was no evidence, then they said, well, it's not, there's evidence, but it's not widespread. But then it's widespread. Now they're trying to hide, burn, wipe, and cover up everything, right? I want y'all to understand this. No one, Republican or Democrat, has come out to support the Constitution because neither the Republicans or Democrat wanted Trump to win because Trump is a populist. I kept telling people Trump liked people. All right. Trump was trying to tell us that this is who the Democrats are, black people. But we didn't want to understand. You see the title. Obama Democrat argues slavery okay for corporations before the Supreme Court. Now, let me say this. If the Supreme Court does not step in to remedy all this fraud and these cover-ups in this election, that means this whole damn system in America is absolutely corrupt from the top all the way down. I told you, Trump's job was to get in there and expose who America really is, and that is these corporations. How dare someone have the audacity to argue this? All right, but this isn't an American-born ADOS lawyer. This is somebody from outside of America who came in here because they had a law degree, was able to get citizenship easier than others. I can't argue that. Hey, he did what he got to do. But then this is somebody that likely came from a history where it's okay to put darker people or less than people in a caste system that is oppressive based on how dark you are and how poor you are. They are bringing this system to the United States. That's what the Democrats want. You don't believe me? Then why would you have a lawyer argue this to the Supreme Court, before the Supreme Court, for corporations? Remember, Mitt Romney said corporations are people? Remember that? I want y'all to remember that. Mitt Romney, who don't like Trump because he liked corporations. See, so you got the Republicans that like corporations over the people, and then you only got a few Republicans that like people. Dare I say, maybe just Trump that likes people. You didn't see not a single Republican senator stand up for Trump. That ought to tell you something. All right. Now, let me just ask y'all real quick. Don't forget to share this video. It's on a new platform. It's because you know as sure as hell that YouTube would censor this, and maybe Facebook and Twitter would too, even though it's a truth being argued in the Supreme Court. The link to the article will be in the description box. But this is something they don't want us to hear. They don't want us to see. Remember, There's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here. All right. I'm going to show you what they don't want us to see. For a long time, people have been saying, oh, slavery is dead. And I said, no. Some of y'all understand this. I said, this is the corporate system. I said, the design of this corporate system of capital is to treat everybody like capital, like money. All right. And that's what this power grab has been about. What they want to do is make the most money by giving the people that do the work the least of that money. And if they could get people to work for free, these corporations will. Understand this. I said this. If they could get the people, if they could get a situation where they can get laws to make people work for them for free while they reap all the benefits, they would. Because all these people in the United States care about is money. Period. From the lawyers on down. Trump is the first president that, one, gave all the money, all his earnings as president back, except for $1. He's the only president that was already rich and came in and as a result of seeking the presidency was losing money. Now, he's still rich enough he could do that. He's the only president that came in that actually invited Afro people to the table. All right. Biden gave people a bunch of words. He didn't even give us words. He insulted black people, but a bunch of black people didn't realize they were being insulted, while a bunch of brothers caught on. The Afro people caught on. You know, strippers to the polls. If you ain't black, oh, his record, and this goes out to the black people that were making excuses for his record. Brothers, share this to everyone that you can. Share this. All right, we're about to get into this case. I'm going to show you the audacity of the Democrats. This is where corporations want us to hearken back to, where they made money hand on over fist, got to do whatever they want to human beings. And it was all within the confines of the law. All right. And there are pieces of the law that this guy that's a Democrat is arguing, which is the same kind of law that Mitt Romney argued when he and his crony people, when he said corporations are people too. So this means that they got to do what they want. But I want you to understand the questioning of the Supreme Court justices and this guy, the audacity. But this is the Democrats, y'all. So this is what's going on. Barack Obama's former acting Solicitor General and current legislator, excuse me, did I say litigator? Current litigator, Neil Katyal, appeared before the U.S. Supreme Court, and y'all saw his picture at the beginning, doing oral arguments Tuesday to defend multinational and U.S.-based corporations from liability for using child slaves abroad for profit. What was my argument about corporations? They want to oppress use the system to get the system into legally oppressing you for their benefit. In other words, capitalism is to get I was getting ready to say extort, but capitalism is corporations wanting to bleed as much money from the system as they can while giving to those that work the system the least amount of money possible. If they could get down to giving people zero, they would do it. This proves that. I kept saying that that's the goal of capitalism, to ultimately make all the money and give none of it to the people working for them. All right, so US-based corporations were using child slave labor abroad for profit. In two consolidated cases stylized as Nestle USA versus Doe I and Cargill Incorporated versus Doe I, former child slave forced to work on cocoa farms in the Ivory Coast sued the companies in their corporate form for aiding and abetting slave labor under the Alien Tort Statute, ATS, of 1798. Passed by the very first U.S. Congress, the ATS authorizes the federal courts to effectively craft or sanction novel cases of action so long as the underlying activity, the bad behavior alleged, violates international law. Another way to think about the ATS is that one of a small number of U.S. legal instruments. It is one of the small number of U.S. legal instruments that can be used to insert universal jurisdiction over violations of international law. This will be a good one for Viva Fry to go over. At root, the law allows non-U.S. citizens an avenue for redress that would otherwise be unavailable to them in the U.S. legal system. Child slavery on cocoa farms in the Ivory Coast, where 70% of the world's cocoa is produced, is a pervasive humanitarian tragedy. Plaintiffs are former child slaves who were kidnapped and forced to work on the cocoa farms in the Ivory Coast for up to 14 hours a day without pay. While being forced to work on the cocoa farms, plaintiffs witnessed the beating and torture of other child slaves who attempted to escape. The corporations operate within the unilateral goal of finding the cheapest source of cocoa in the Ivory Coast. Not content to rely on market forces to keep costs low, defendants have taken steps to perpetuate a system built on child slavery to depress labor costs. I kept telling y'all, for those that have been watching my YouTube channel for a long time, I said this is the goal of the U.S. corporations. Man, and this just lays that to bear. To maintain their supply of cocoa, defendants have exclusive buyer-seller relationship with Ivory Coast farmers and provide those farmers with financial support such as advance payment and personal spending money. 19 million child slaves were rescued from a farm with whom Cargill has exclusive buyer-seller relationship. The corporations also provide tools, equipment, and technical support to the farmers, including training in farming technique and farm maintenance. Dang! No, damn! This sounds exactly like what they did in the United States, the U.S. government. The Democrats in the U.S. government. In connection with providing this training and support, defendants visited their supplier farms several times per year. So not only do they help them supply them money, they know exactly what in the hell is going on because they go there several times per year to manage what is going on. All right. Now, these are tips and pieces from the article. So if you want to read the whole thing, All right. Just click it in the description box or copy it and save it in the and put it in your thing in the description box, from the description box. Description box. Dang, too early in the morning. All right, defendants will well that child slave labor is a pervasive problem in the Ivory Coast. The court continued. Nonetheless, the defendants continued to provide financial support and technical farming aid, even though they knew their acts would assist farmers who were using forced labor, and knew that their assistance would facilitate child slavery. Indeed, the gravamen of the complaint is that the defendants depended on an orchestrated slave-based supply chain. The defendants depended on an orchestrated slave-based supply chain. And a Democratic appointed, Obama appointed lawyer is arguing before the Supreme Court that everything that I just read is okay. As a matter of fact, he's defending it. We can't find a bunch of lawyers to take up a case to make sure that this is a fair election. The reason why you only see 2 or 3 lawyers involved and a bunch of lawyers like Barnes and a couple other people involved in the Trump case is because the corporate lawyers who were there Johnny on the spot to support Bush and Gore, the whole system decided not to support Trump because Trump is a populist. He's for the people. In other words, Trump is for the people and the corporations are not for the people. So they did not jump in to support Trump because they did not want to support the people. And ignorant clowns that come on my Facebook and YouTube and try to clown me, they're the ones that should be embarrassed by how this looks. And this is a reflection upon them. Okay? With facts more or less firmly not in their favor, the corporations and their legal representative, who both appellate decisions against them, were left arguing that the ATS precludes such a lawsuit because over the years, the Supreme Court has read in a presumption against extraterritorial application of the statute. And this is the problem with a lot of law and lawyers. No one will argue for the people in these major, on the Democratic side, and you got a lot of people switching to Republican as a result of the fraud. But look at all the quiet Democratic people that's okay with the steal so long as they get rid of Trump. Think about that. You were gassed up by the media falsely to hate a dude that really was doing good for the country because they didn't like him because he was getting rid of all the corruption, and he stood up to the media because the media don't report news. They're just a well-oiled propaganda machine. We're talking about the legacy media. They're a real well-oiled propaganda machine all the way up to include Fox for the Democrats and for the corporations. That's what this is all about. This is about the corporations versus the people. The corporations, in their minds, it's okay. Slavery is okay. Cattle's strategy throughout the proceeding was to blur the lines between who should be liable. You can go after the individual. he argues at one point in response to a question about corporate liability from tech-centric Justice Neil Gorsuch. Okay? So you don't need to go after the corporation. You can go after the individual, but you don't need to go after the corporation. But remember, Mitt Romney said corporations are people. The Supreme Court, when they gave corporations the ability to put so much money, the reason why, hold on, that ruling by the Supreme Court that said corporations are people is why Facebook was able to put all their money into throwing the election in favor of Biden. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg is the one that paid the people to count the votes. He put the machines in Georgia 4 feet apart. I mean, the mailboxes, they were unsecured. Facebook did all that. Facebook put all those millions and millions of dollars in. Facebook is the one that's been paying these people across the United States because of the Supreme Court. And that's the Republicans on the Supreme Court who said that corporations were people, so they get to put as much money into these elections as they want so that they can buy the election in favor of who is favorable for the corporations. The specific argument advanced by the former Obama administration alum on behalf of his multinational employer is that there is no specific, universal, and obligatory norm that supports corporate liability for child slavery violation. Justice Elaine Kagan quizzed Cattell at one point on a similar issue. She asked the attorney, if a former slave can sue one slaveholder under the ATS, he replies that they could. Kagan then asked him if a former slave owner could sue 10 slave owners. Again, Cattell replied that they could do so. The wind-up complete, Kagan then asked, and here comes the pitch, a curveball on the inside of the plate. If you bring a suit against 10 slaveholders, then those 10 slaveholders form a corporation. Why can't you bring a suit against the corporation? All right, here's the swing. Cattell said, as Cattell said, that a corporation requires an individual form of liability under a specific norm of international law. And that's his swing at that curveball. So I want y'all to get a clear understanding. This is the object of all corporations in the United States. There are individuals within corporations that do not agree with this. But the model of corporation and the board members of those corporations is to get as much money out of a product by using the least amount of money to produce the product. And this case shows that and this is going on in more than just this place, if a corporation can get away with slavery, they would. I keep telling you that the biggest supporters of the Democratic Party are these single mothers, but the minions of these single mothers. I kept telling you, the reason why these dudes' minds is so wasted, because while these women were running around taking D's everywhere, to the point where now they're taking L's, they did not educate their children at all the way a strong man would as to right and wrong and how to think critically. and how to look at the news, how to go in and look at what people are trying to do to you, because that was not their motive. Their motive was to live their best life the same way the corporations do, at the expense of their children and a man, to the point that when their children grow up, they'll keep on voting for the same system that want to enslave them. Remember we talk about slave wages? I want y'all to think about that for a second. This is serious. This is the mentality of the Democrats and those who follow them, except many that follow them will try to say, even though this is a Supreme Court case, they'll try to explain this away. Oh, I'm not talking about the politicians. They do what they do. We're talking about the actually so-called other black people that look like us, that look like me. Whereas I see a problem with it, they'll try to explain this away because, well, it's a Democrat and they get to break the laws. That's how bold this is. Y'all tell me what y'all think about this in the description box or in the comment box. And don't forget to look in the description box for my PayPal me and my Cash App and for the link to this court case. I hope this is something that Viva Fry would take up. With that said, I'm out.